everyone and welcome to Whisky Wednesday. Something a bit unusual today. The whisky shop has taken hold of a private bottling of Bruichladdich 10-year-old cash strength. Who it was bottled for, I'm unsure of. When it was bottled, I'm unsure of. All I know is that it's 58.5% and it's from a revitalised hogshead, which I'm assuming is a sherry cask, or a sherry hogshead, because this is a beautifully dark colour. The bottle in the shot is bottle 238 of 290. I own bottle 239. Bought it literally today, the day we're filming, because it looked really interesting. It's all natural colour, there's no filtering on it. I don't know who bottled it. I imagine this company, but I can't really pronounce that. And I don't know where they're based. So there's a lot of unknowing about this bottle. All I know is that it tastes amazingly different, and it smells very different, and it's very unusual. The price is coming in about £90, so it's about the same as what you'd expect for one of the Bruichladdich micro provenance unusual barrels. So it's not too far out of the reach of that kind of vibe. But yeah, all hand numbered, which is quite nice. And as natural as it can be. Very simple packaging. I think the guy who probably bought it didn't have a lot of money to spend on packaging, so it's quite simple. But let's go on with the smell, let's go on with the taste. Let's see what's kind of kicking around. Is it classic Bruichladdich? Is it a bit different? Some really unusual things to get through on the nose. There's a funk note there, and for any of you that have tried a lot of independent Bruichladdich or like single barrel Bruichladdich that they've done themselves, there is like a natural kind of funkiness to it. Same with Glen Scotia, the same with Springbank. Get this really kind of unusual, can't really put your finger on it kind of flavour. It's like a mixture of saltiness and sweetness. Separating the two. In terms of the saltiness, it reminds me a lot like pistachio nuts. It's got this kind of earthy nuttiness to it, kind of brimmed with salt around the sides, as you'd expect for a coastal distillery. There is some richness coming from the sherry barrel. I get some like kind of low coffee notes, a little bit of milk chocolate, some kind of raisins and plums. A little bit of honey as well. There's some kind of really sweet notes kicking up in the back of it. But for any of you that are kind of not a fan of that slightly sulphurous note that some sherry cask whiskies can give you, there is a slight sulphur just in the back of it. But I think it's adding just like an additional savouriness to the whiskey. It's not an offensive style of sulphur. It's just kind of building up these more unusual notes, because it kind of follows the honey note. You get it on the back of the honey note. And there's something really there's something quite dark and quite savoury in it. It almost reminds me a little bit of like roasted meats, like pork, beef. A little bit of fizz on the nose from the ABV as well, so don't throw your nose too far into it. Yeah, really unusual, kind of typical Bruichladdich, and then really off the radar as well. Something a bit kind of strange. All of those flavours are totally backed up on the palate. There's a lot of spice up front. Really tingles the sides of your tongue, gets the tip of your tongue. It's very taste profile forward. An easy way to say it is probably there's not a lot of bass in the whiskey. It's very trebly. It's very at the front and the tips and the side of your tongue. That pistachio saltiness really kind of rings around your entire mouth. There's just this like salty, saline-y kind of thing all kicking around. Not necessarily smoke, but like oak smoke. Not peat, but oak smoke. Like a hickory barbecue kind of note. I think that was that savoury thing I couldn't put my finger on before. And then like more meatiness, like old school mortlack kind of meatiness to it. Really funky. Second sip's a little less intense. Your tongue's kind of used to it at this point. This video could be 20 minutes long and I could list everything that I can taste in it, but we just don't have that time. But it's just this wealth of salty, meaty, slightly sweet, honey-covered barbecue glazed meat kind of things. If you like old school West Coast whiskey that's not necessarily really peaty, just very complex, I'd say this has probably got your name all over it. Like I said, I bought one of them. I know the other 289 are available, so feel free to kind of click on the website, see if you want to take one. In terms of flavour and complexity, there is a lot going on, so much so that my mind's still kind of boggling. Scoring it's quite easy. I think it's like a solid 8. I think it's a really tasty whiskey with a lot going on. There's not much of it available, which is a slight downside. But the smell and the palate are very similar, backed up with a lot of spice and oak smoke. And now I'm getting like an old patina-y kind of leather, like dried leather kind of thing going on with it. Really interesting. If you like old school whiskies, I think, even though this is only a 10-year-old, there's a lot of kind of weird older stuff going on with it. Thank you all for watching. This is the independent bottling of a Bruichladdich 10-year-old from the Whisky Shop. It's an 8 out of 10. I'm Phil. This is the Whisky Shop in Manchester. My bottle is open and it's in store, so if you want to pop by and try it and see what you think, we've got some in store to sell as well. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week. Cheers.